What's up, guys? Welcome back to a new NFL video. Today we're going to be discussing why the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West. Now, Travis is already looking at me with a long face, so I know he doesn't agree with this, but I think the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West this year.
Yeah, I think as all the viewers as well probably agree with me that it's going to be the 49ers, but I mean, I'm open to hearing your argument. I am. I'm not going to shut it down. I think you guys do have a decent squad. Now, I just think the 49ers are better, especially with the way Purdy played last year, if he can recreate that. But if Geno can recreate the way he played last year, maybe you guys have a shot more than people think. So I like to hear what you think about that.
I'll start off by talking up the Seahawks, as I feel like we deserve to be talked up a little bit, and then I'll go into the other teams. But, you know, Geno's coming off a record-setting year, 4,200 yards, highest completion percentage in the league. We got a lot of returning guys, deep receiving core, deep running back room. Our O-line is finally coming around a little bit. On the defensive side of the ball, I know we still haven't addressed the center of the field, stopping the run. We don't have a guy yet that is going to just stuff the middle of the hole and not let running backs get through. We don't have that yet. Although we did add Jaron Reed, he is coming from the defensive end position, and they shifted him over to nose tackle. He's still more of a pass rush type of guy.
Yeah.
So that still really didn't fix our issue there.
Yeah, and he came from Green Bay, and there's a reason why we got rid of him. Just going to throw that out there.
Hey, well, he started his career as a Seahawk, and now he wants to come back and continue it as a Seahawk. Just like everyone wants to. Look at Bobby. Bobby went to the ops, and then he came right back. He came
agree.
Crawling back.
I do think that the one weakness on your team, I feel like it's pretty prevalent that it is the run game.
The run. Yep.
You know, we've seen that even like, let's not, overreaction preseason, just like overreaction Monday after every NFL game. The whole preseason, overreaction. You can overreact, but you haven't really been able to stop the run in the preseason. So that's been kind of interesting. Now, you did get a guy like Draymond Jones, and he's a good player. Like, I do think that but like, you don't really have that star in the run game. Now, we're talking about winning the division, so let's flip it over to a team that you're going to have to compete with, and that's the Niners. I really don't find a weakness on this team. Like, some people will say, yes, the quarterback's a little bit weaker, but the way Brock Purdy played last year, out of the starting quarterbacks the last 7 weeks of the season, he led in all QBR, more than Mahomes, more than Josh Allen, more than Jalen Hurts. Like, he played out of his mind the last games. And yes, he comes in, he has a little bit of injury with his elbow, had that Tommy John issue, but name a weakness on this team. Like, one of the best receiving cores, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, one of the best tight ends in George Kittle, one of the best running backs in Christian McCaffrey, one of the best O-lines and has the best O-lineman in all of football in Trent Williams. On the defensive side of the ball, reigning defensive player of the year, Nick Bosa. Obviously, Eric Armstead, that whole defensive front is absolutely crazy. Looking at the middle linebacker, make an argument for why Fred Warner is the best middle linebacker in the league. Safety, defensive backs, Tailoa Hufanga, one of the best safeties. So really, there's no weakness on this team. I'd say they're a little bit weaker at their corners, but like when your defensive line is so good, like, you can
afford to have worse corners, 100%.
So, like, this is not like, I don't want this to get taken as like, this is not like shitting on the Seahawks per se, but it's more like if you guys were in the Saints division, in the NFC South, if you guys were even in Jacksonville's division or Green Bay's division, yeah, I think you would obviously be the favorites to win, but you're playing the second, maybe even first best team in the NFC. It's going to be tough. Just as I think Dallas is probably the third or fourth best team in the NFC, but unfortunately they're in Philly's division, and the odds of them winning, just go lower because they're playing the best team maybe in the league.
Yeah, no, I hear all your arguments. I'm not going to sit here and lie to the audience and lie to you and say that the Seahawks are favorite to win and that we're going to roll over the 49ers because they are a very complete team. But I'm also not going to sit here and say that the Seahawks are going to get smacked around by the NFC West because I just think that's not what's going to happen. I think that we'll start off with the Niners because that's the team you wanted to talk about first. I agree. I don't think there's many holes on this team. The one question mark that the Niners have, which you touched on, is the quarterback position. And although Brock Purdy played out of his mind when he came in and took over the offense after Trey Lance got hurt, he only played bottom tier teams that whole rest of the season. The first challenge that Brock Purdy really had was against the Eagles. And I know he got hurt, but it was not looking like that game was going to go in the 49ers way whatsoever. And hold up, let's rewind a little bit too, because the game right before when the 49ers played the Eagles, they played us. So
correct.
And you guys saw the score going into halftime. We were winning. We were winning 17-14 going into the second half. And obviously that game did not turn out the way we wanted it to go. But that is a lot. That is a lot of hope for me. That a team that was projected to be literally the worst team in all of NFL, in all of the league, when the rankings came out last year, we were literally going to be dead last. No one had any hope for us. And obviously we exceeded expectations. We made the playoffs, very luckily, but we made the playoffs to play our division rivals. And to be up at halftime against the second best team in all of the NFC, that is huge upside to me for a team that was supposed to be rebuilding, to be able to compete and be competitive with a team at the caliber of the 49ers. That gives me a lot of hope, and we only got better since then. The 49ers are a little bit scaring me because they literally just yesterday got rid of Trey Lance, who they spent so much draft capital on, which, I mean, maybe that's saying that they have a lot more hope in Sam Darnold and in Brock Purdy than they did in Trey Lance, and they wanted to get whatever they could for him. But I don't know, that's sending a message to me that, like, hey, like, it's a little bit like, hey, we don't really know what we're doing yet at the quarterback position. So I don't know. I think if we could come in and play some hard-nosed football and just stop the run against the Niners, I really think that we can make a huge scene in the NFL if we can steal one game against the Niners, which I think we are completely capable of. I'm not saying that we're going to go 2-0 against the Niners in the regular season, but I definitely see the Seahawks splitting with the Niners and maybe even getting a couple games up and winning the division over the Niners.
Yeah, my counter argument, your one big argument talking about the Niners was the quarterback position, and I want to keep it, level with each team. You can make the same argument for Seattle. We've seen Geno Smith play for what seems like 7 or 8 years in the NFL now. And yes, he played with the Giants. Yes, he played with the Jets. But he'd never played this good. So not saying that it's not for sure that he's going to come back, and play exactly how he played last year. I mean, we saw the last 4 games of the last season. He lost to Carolina. He got blown out in the second half by San Francisco. So he did fall and wasn't playing as well as he was in the first 6 games of the season, obviously. I think his play declined steadily. But I think like you can make the same argument. And even with Purdy, all he's done since he's been in the NFL is win. He's played very well. Obviously, I said earlier he had the best QBR in the rating in the NFL since he took over. Whereas Geno hasn't, since he's been in the NFL, played like how Purdy has. So like Purdy, we don't know any different than how Purdy's played. Where Geno we do. Where I feel like you can make the same argument for both quarterbacks having questionable parts of their game. Whereas I look more of the surrounding cast as kind of what is like sticking there and what like is a for sure thing, other than both teams have questionable at the quarterback position. So looking at the other positions is what I'm really looking at. And I think, not just to go on Seattle, but the 49ers probably have the best team outside of Philly in the whole entire league outside of the quarterback position.
Yeah, I mean, if you gonna bring in defense, I think you could say that. But I think on offense, I genuinely think that the Seahawks have a better surrounding cast around the quarterback position than the Niners do. I know they have arguably the best running back in football, but that's really it. I know do they still even have Elijah Mitchell, or is he gone now?
They still have Elijah
Mitchell, but our running back room is deeper, and arguably Ken might have even more upside than any other running back in the league right now. We have the second best receiving core in all of the NFL. Super deep. I mean, the one place on offense where the 49ers get us is the line. Obviously, they have a better line, but the Seahawks line is super, super young. We just got Damian Lewis back at guard. He's going to be a dog for us. We have 2 second-year tackles who, if they can make the next jump, our O-line could be very, very solid, a lot quicker than people realize.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't think we have a tight end that can compete with George Kittle. But again, we have a 3-4 deep man tight end room. So everywhere you look across the board, it doesn't matter what position, the Seahawks are very, very deep, and we're skilled at all the positions. I don't know. I have a feeling that we are going to steal a game on the Niners. And I won't even, we've been talking about the Niners a lot, but I don't want to discount. I think the Rams are definitely going to be better than a lot of people realize. They were dealing with injuries all across the board last year, as the Green Bay Packers, where I think you guys are in a similar position as the Rams are, but we can't look past the Rams. I think that anytime we play them, we definitely can't look past them. We gotta play our fucking hearts out, and we got them week 1. So we'll see here shortly how week 1 looks against Seahawks versus Rams. But I mean, the Cardinals, we don't really need to touch on the Cardinals. They are they are not going to be winning any games this season. But it really boils down to that Niners Seahawks, and I truly think that we are going to split with them this year in regular season.
Yeah, I think splitting games is different than winning the division. Like splitting games, like there's a strong possibility that any division rival splits games with any team, but over the course of an 18-week NFL season, I just don't see a world where Seattle comes out with more wins than San Francisco does. You said, like, yes, arguably the offense is better, which I would rebuttal with, like, outside of the receiver room, they're better at every other position. They're better at running back, they're better at tight end, and they're better at offensive line. So outside of the receivers, and let's not forget that they still have Deebo Samuel, Brad Ayuk, Ray McLeod. Like, it's not like their receiver room sucks. So I would just say, like, I do think Seattle's good. I do see them making the wild card, but just getting over San Francisco is just going to be It's going to be tough. It's going to be a hill that you're going to have to climb.
It's definitely a tall task for sure. And at one point I didn't touch on previously was, Geno Smith, although he has been in the league and, you could say that we know what to expect from Geno before this past year, but also Geno's never had a chance. He played games on the Jets, but every other team he's been with, he's just been a backup and has never had a chance to really start in the NFL again and show what he's learned and how much he's improved his game until the Seahawks gave him an opportunity. So I don't think it's fair to say that Geno won't come back and play the same way he did last year. I think he's going to come back and play even better. And a stat that we had just looked up together is in 1 year of Geno Smith, he has the passing record for one season. He beat Russell Wilson out, and Russell was there almost 10 years and couldn't throw more than 4,280 yards, whatever Geno had thrown last year. So it's crazy to me that Geno is still getting the hate and the backlash from not just saying this but just in general. Like, I think that's a big question mark for a lot of people and who are analyzing the NFL is like, hey, Geno Smith can't do that again. Well, he did. What's to say he can't do it again? And the people around him only got better and are only going to get better. So that argument to me is silly. But again, anything can happen in this league. And hey, anything can happen is also meaning that the Seahawks could win the NFC West.
That's true. And I think I want to take you on a little bit of a road. This might be a little bit of a tangent here. And I think this is just funny. You said he played with the Jets. They didn't really have a good surrounding cast and then was a backup. Didn't really have a chance to, and then he joins the Seahawks. I'm going to take you a player that I feel like is kind of similar, right? Drafted by the Jets, took over what Geno took over. Geno left, and then he took over what Geno took over. Doesn't play very well for the Jets, goes and plays as a backup and now signs, and that's Sam Darnold. Kind of followed a similar path as Geno Smith, but a lot of people have said, like, over the last 20 years, Sam Darnold is the best passer of the football, pure passer, pure talent, like, out of college, that the 49ers have had, which maybe that's a knock on their other quarterbacks, Colin Kaepernick or Alex Smith. Like, yes, they're good players, but I mean, Sam Darnold was obviously the second or third pick in the NFL draft 5 years ago. But I think, Brock Purdy, like, again, I get that it's a small sample size, but just the QBR, when I saw that he, over the last 7 weeks of the season, including the playoffs, had a better QBR than Mahomes, who was the reigning MVP, and not just Mahomes, but everybody in the league, that was a stat that I was like, okay, like, this 49ers team is no joke.
Yeah, no, that stat is a good one, but that stat does not correlate to winning games. And I mean, I know the 49ers won games last year, but you're saying it yourself. If there's going to be a quarterback battle and there's going to be controversy at the quarterback position and for the 49ers, what if the team is not confident around them? I think that the 49ers are going to have too much doubt in that quarterback room, and they're not going to have the full team surrounding that quarterback. And I mean, if Brock Purdy plays, like, who knows? Like, he had the elbow injury. What if he's never throwing the ball the same again? There's too many question marks for me, and I think that the Seahawks are taking a level up, a huge level up this year. And where did the 49ers improve? I don't think they improved at all. Not saying that they could necessarily improve too much at any position, but I mean, hey, the Seahawks are right at their tails, man. It's a lot closer than people realize.
Yeah, and I mean that's a valid. Like, everyone's valid to their own opinion, so I'm not gonna sit here and keep trying to argue because obviously
someone's got to play devil's advocate,
right? Though. You feel some way. I'm just trying to, like, I know how the consensus feels, and that's just the majority probably of our viewers. So I'm just trying to, like, take the arguments that I've heard from around the league, spread it on, and have you reply and see how you feel. You know, I feel like you did make a good argument. Like, you guys did obviously get a lot better adding Bobby Wagner, adding Devin Witherspoon, which he hasn't really played in the preseason. Who knows how he's going to play? But
see.
Jackson Smith and Jigba obviously is a big addition as well, if his wrist comes back. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here. I obviously, as most people, think that the 49ers are going to be better. But, I mean, there are surprising things every year in the league. Like, you know, you guys weren't supposed to play as well last year. You know, maybe you can replicate that. Maybe you can't. I mean, it's all up to speculation at this point until week 1 Sunday night comes down, and you know, you guys play the Rams, and if you guys lose, then maybe that's eye-opening of, like, hey, you know, maybe we can't replicate the success we had from last season.
Yeah, most definitely. But that's the beautiful thing of the NFL. Anything can happen.
It's true.
Anything can happen.
I you know what? I'm trying to fight you, you know, stand up with you, but anything can happen. But let's be real, the Cardinals, the Bucks, they're not winning shit.
No,
like, there are a few things that we for sure know in the league, but one thing that I for sure know is you guys should hit the fucking subscribe button. Go hit the like button. Go add a comment. What do you think the Seahawks are going to do this year? Are you riding with me in the consensus group, or you're going to go out, spur your hot take, say that the Seahawks are going to win the NFC West and go with Tucker? But if you don't think so, which I think most of you do, hit the subscribe button. I want to see how many people, we see the statistics on the video. I want to see how many people hit the subscribe button thinking that the 49ers will finish better than the Seahawks.
You guys better not hit. This is the first time I'll ever say it. Don't hit the subscribe button, guys.
But yeah, I think the whole countdown is waiting for week 1. I think there's a lot of teams, and maybe it's because I'm a Green Bay fan, but this year is the most exciting and unpredictable year I feel like we've had in football. Like, obviously, we got a guy who was Mr. Irrelevant last year taking over the starting quarterback of one of the best teams in the league. You have the Eagles, who arguably got better. You have Dallas, who, you know, fired their offensive coordinator, got a new job. Now they have a new position. Like, and Derek Carr, who was for the Raiders for the last 8 years, is now in the Saints. Aaron Rodgers, who's a Hall of Fame quarterback, arguably a top 5 quarterback in NFL history, leaves the team he's been with for the last 18 years, is now on the Jets, following the whole road Brett Favre took. Like, there's so many teams with so many different question marks that it's the countdown to the NFL season.
I haven't been this excited for an NFL season and for a Seahawks season in a long time. So when week 1 rolls around, you guys know where I'm going to be, glued to the TV watching as many games as I can, and I can't wait for that week 1 game against the Rams.
Yeah, and we can't wait for the NFL season in general, and I'm sure you can, but let's stop, keep talking here, and let's just cue it up. As always, cue that outro, baby.
Peace.